to the Grind to Growth to Greatness podcast. The best and brightest entrepreneurs, CEOs, creators, athletes. We'll talk to them all, and we'll get the good, the bad, and the ugly on how they made it. Decoding the secrets of success. And now your host, Terry Barr.
Hey, welcome to Grind to Growth to Greatness. I'm your host, Terry Barr, and I have a tremendous guest. I ran into this young lady through another lady in her business. We'll call it a business for now until we get into the conversation, but her name's Abigail West. She is an artist. She's also an ultra marathoner, an ultra runner. She's a trail runner, I guess is the better way to put that. And she's an interesting young lady. I got to meet her a couple weekends ago at an art show, so it was kind of fun to touch base there. She actually has a couple pieces of art, one right there that she did, and another one over here. So I really like her stuff. Enjoy having that in my studio. But Abigail is from Georgia. She was born in Florida. She spent some time in northern Georgia. She kind of matriculated there over her young life and ended up there with her husband, Michael. But she has a great story. I want to get into it. I want to talk a little bit about her art. I want to talk a little bit about her running. And I just want you to sit back and kind of listen to this young lady and how this all came together. Maybe she doesn't know how it came together. We don't know, but we're going to ask those questions, and hopefully you can get a little piece of inspiration from Abigail. So, Abigail West, thanks for being here. Appreciate you being on our show. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
So let's jump right in. I see that when I was doing my research on you, born in Florida. Your dad, I guess, was a big part of your life. You ended up in northern Georgia in the mountains there every summer. And I saw some of your pictures with Dad and being out on the trail in the mountains. Tell me a little bit about where you grew up. Tell me about your family. Tell me how you ended up in the woods.
Yeah. So you got that part right. Born in North Florida, super rural area. We lived out in the woods on the Santa Fe River, which is north of Gainesville. My dad was a professor. So I've got two sisters that are much older than I am. And so when I was between first and second grade, like I said, my dad's a professor. We actually moved out to Oklahoma. So you missed one piece of the story there. That's all right. You did great research otherwise. Yeah, no. So from age 7 to 18, I lived in Oklahoma.
Okay.
And also in the woods. My parents did not grow up on farms, but when decided they wanted to become hobby farmers. And so we we lived out on like 10, 15 acres and had a bunch of animals and had that ideal childhood freedom of being able to go run around.
How about so you were barefoot most of your childhood, I guess, then probably.
Yeah.
So mom and dad lived out, you guys lived out to in Oklahoma, and then you came back to, I guess you came back to northern Georgia at some point.
I came back for school, so for college. And my parents actually moved to Georgia at the same time I did.
Okay, so you're a bulldog.
I am, yeah.
Yeah, one of my best friends lives in northern Georgia right now. He just moved from Pennsylvania to northern Georgia. He's a bulldog fan, and believe it or not, I think 95% of the reason he moved down there was to be closer to his dog. So he's a big fan, and I've got a chance to spend a little time down there. It's a great place.
Yeah, I live in Athens still, so
I'm
walking distance from the university, basically.
Yeah. So you're forever a student, right? When you're that close.
Yeah. Well, although right now is the best time of year to be in Athens because all the students are gone.
Yeah, no kidding. So tell me a little bit about Abigail. How did I saw some pictures when you were very, very young. Yeah. You're doing watercolors. You must have always been an artist at heart. But tell me when that really took root in your life. From a young child, or did you kind of just grow up saying, this is what I want to do? How did that happen?
Yeah, I think it's one of those, like, I think I got really lucky situations and also, found things that I excelled at, and it's human nature to a certain extent to gravitate towards the things you're good at. Sure. So yeah, been an artist my whole life. Like that picture you're referring to of me painting, at, I don't know, like 3 years old in the woods.
Yeah.
That's definitely been a feature since I could hold the utensils that one uses to make art. It's not like it was my only interest. So it was never like, I think, of course, I said at some point I wanted to be an artist when I grow up. I wanted to be a lot of things though. So it was never my singular focus. And I think that thread you can trace all the way through my like adolescence and into college. So I did a lot of art in elementary school. I would take after school classes and that kind of thing. I mentioned growing up in central Oklahoma, there's a great school in Oklahoma City that has 2 tracks. One is the International Baccalaureate track, and then one is an arts track. And so I went to that school up in the International Baccalaureate track up until it was time to actually do the program. And then I switched over to the art track so that I could like maximize my time.
Sure.
And so I was able to get like super high quality academics. And then also by the time I was junior, senior in high school, I had several classes in art every day. So a good portion of my day was spent taking art classes.
So tell me, you went to Georgia to college, obviously, but what did you go? I mean, what did you study while you were there?
Printmaking, actually. So I came in and I wasn't even sure, like when I was applying to colleges, I applied to some art schools and then I applied to some schools that didn't even really have art programs because I still wasn't sure since I had so many interests. I took a gap year. I lived in Germany for a year as an exchange student. And then during that year, I knew I wanted to go to art school because I figured it wasn't even for sure that I would stick with it, but just like it's a lot harder to switch over than to start just because you need so many credit hours to get a degree in art. And so I started in drawing and painting, or you start in a foundations level with art school. So you take a bunch of different classes in different disciplines. And thought I would do drawing and painting, which I think is what, like a really high percentage of people who go into art school think, because that's what we had the most experience with. And I had done printmaking. I had some really cool printmaking opportunities when I was in high school. But once I got into school at UGA, it was clear to me that the printmaking program was the most exciting, at least at that time. They were doing like the most experimental work. And so picked that track. And the type of printmaking I was doing in college was a lot more like varied and experimental than what I do now. Now it's like the kind of thing you do in college. And then now I focused in on one form, at least for the time being.
Yeah. I mentioned that when I saw you a couple weeks ago at the art show, I got this overriding feeling that you were still trying to find some sort of like, and maybe most artists are like that. Maybe you can tell me that. I'm not really an artist at heart, but I love art. I'm no good at anything as far as artistically speaking. I guess this is the only art that you'd maybe call this art, but I got the feeling like that you were still kind of going down that path, looking for exits and on-ramps and things. Is it something that as an artist, you look for different things, or you still experiment with different mediums or different, I don't know what it's called, but tactics and things that you do? Are you still searching for that? I mean, I know you're making a living off of art. I guess your studio's been open for almost 2 years now. Is that pretty close?
Yeah, I've been full-time for almost 2 years. Yeah,
I mean, that's a big step for an artist. Is that something that you just focus solely on that, on the printmaking, on the linoleum? I know you do it's called linoleum. You use linoleums to groove out the picture, which is fascinating to me. But are you doing anything else? Are you always experimenting with art? Or are you interested in other mediums? Tell me about how an artist that's supporting herself, do you have time for that?
Yeah, the time thing is definitely critical. It's a juggling act. Like for me, it looks different for everybody is the overarching answer to that question, but like super different. But so for me, the way that I like my business structure, my income buckets are art festivals, client work, and online sales. And so there's a degree, like some of the client work is digital, and sometimes I do some like sticker designs and stuff that I'll use in different ways. I just recently started a Patreon, so it's called Toughness Club. So that's a way for me to bring in those other art forms, and sometimes that's block prints that I turn into stickers. But so far, it's been older prints that are like sold out, that are reduction prints that are impossible for me to recreate, or watercolors that I've never shown to anyone, because I do some watercolors when I travel, especially. and it's something I want to do more of. And so by giving myself, like the way my brain works, by giving myself an outlet of like knowing, okay, if I do a bunch of watercolors and I make some that are good, I have a that I like, I now will have a channel to show those to the world at some point via postcards. And that's just like, everybody's creative process is different for sure.
Sure.
I would love to do things like etching, which is another type of printmaking again at some point.
Would you do that? Metal etching? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, like copper plates.
Copper plates, yeah.
But it requires a lot of chemicals that I don't like. My studio that I'm in right now, I just moved back into, and it's inside my house. And I'm like, I would need a place that wasn't in this room to probably have those chemicals. What's really, really nice about relief printmaking is it's an overall very non-toxic process compared to a lot of art forms. Like my husband's an oil painter, and he's done a lot of work to try to make his process less toxic, but it's still like.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. I saw that. Yeah, I saw that he was an artist. I kind of did. He go to UGA as well? Is that where you met him, or?
Yeah, he went to grad school at UGA, so he was getting his MFA. He was in his last year of his MFA when I started there. That's where we first met. We got to know each other some years later through running.
Gotcha. Well, that's interesting. Now, I always wonder, I've got a few things that I love to do, and I would, there are a few things that I would say, okay, I'd like to turn that into a business, or, podcasting, make a little more money off of podcasting, that kind of thing. But I also wonder, and maybe it's different for younger people these days. I'm certainly older than the average, but do you ever worry about your need to have an income off of your art? Do you ever worry about that kind of taking the edge off your interest, or the edge off your passion for it, or the edge off of whatever you call that?
Yeah, I think about this sometimes, and I laugh because, like I mentioned, I went to this school that was these 2 tracks, academic and art. Right. And when I was first applying, I was going to go in as an art major, and then decided I could get better classes if I did this other track. But when I was applying in 5th grade to this school that started in 6th grade, my mom said to me, well, you should consider that you might not enjoy making art as much if you're getting a grade for it.
Yeah.
And I was like, that doesn't bother me. And it's really the exact same question.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Is of like, if you make a living off of it. For me, it's like something that I'm working on actively. I could spend more time painting watercolors or something like that really doesn't, I'm not immediately having any immediate plans to sell those. I don't have like a sales channel set up for that. I could, but I just do that more for fun. I could stand to do more of that, and I would like to, but in terms of like actually what motivates me, I'm motivated to do all the work. And then a lot of a question that pairs with that for a lot of people is, well, don't you get attached to it? And I've never felt that way either. I'm like, I made so much stuff. I already have this issue of having been an artist since I was very, very little. I have a lifetime of accumulated artwork that I don't know what to do with. And some of it's at my parents' house, and I'm sorry, I need to deal with that still, even though they only live a mile away. So for me, it's like, no, I want to make stuff and get it out there in the world. So there is like, there is concern about making a living. Obviously that can be difficult, and it's super variable, and that's a whole other conversation. That's a major challenge. But in terms of like taking the creativity away, it's a constant back and forth. And it is like, I would say it's more figuring out the balance between doing work that I know has commercial value. Like I know that this is a thing that will sell, versus this is something that's just exciting to me that's going to take more time. So I'm going to invest all this time in it up front, not knowing. And then sometimes those things that I do don't sell well right away at a festival, but then for some reason, 8-12 months later, they start selling. So
all of a sudden,
or it's something that like draws people in, or, whatever.
Yeah. I collect art. And I can't say that I have any really expensive pieces, but, I spend months and months and sometimes years trying to figure out what I want to put in a certain space in my home. And it has to say something to me. It has to be like, gosh, I really like that. And from a consumer of art, I look at art all the time, and it's rarely do I find, 2 pieces in a year that I just like, oh gosh, I got to have that. But from an artist perspective, from your perspective, I've seen some of you, I mean, if you go on Abby's website, Abigail's website, Abigail West Studio, and you've got some pictures there that it seems like it would have taken you forever because you're removing part of this linoleum to make this impression, this print, and some of them are extraordinarily detailed. Do you ever get, one of my questions, and we'll get into your running, but how do you go from like this endorphin pumping runner, this trail runner, and we'll talk about that, but how do you go from that and then go to your art and sit down in front of, your piece of art and take this meticulous nicks out of your linoleum? How do you manage that energy output to that? I need to be focused on what I'm doing over here.
So 2 thoughts to that. One is it is a very physical, tactile process. Printmaking more so than drawing, for instance. Painting can be physical if it's big because you have to stand up, but it's not just the carving, it's then all the printing. And so prepping paper and printing is really physical. Like I'm sweating or if I'm not sweating when I'm printing, I'm like noticing that I'm extremely warm. All of a sudden I have to like take layers off, which tells me, oh yeah, it is really physical. I'm walking around, I'm cranking the press, I'm rolling things up. It's so it is very physical still. And I right now I'm like in this carving stage of multiple things. And I was noticing working on it just before I started talking to you, I was like, I'm tired of carving. Like I need to start pulling some prints because the pulling of the prints is really exciting. So I get that through that part of it. And then the other thought is that I did go to college for printmaking, but in the couple years after college, I was building furniture. Okay. And I was metalworking. Okay. And it was really hard. It was also around the time that I got into ultra running. It was like early COVID. I had this big project for the university to build these big tables. Okay. Wow. I was very involved and it was really cool. But I noticed as I was getting into ultra running, it was very hard to train for ultra running and then be like in the welding shop. So it's actually better that I get to like sit down.
Okay. I wondered about that because, when I asked you, are you a runner or an artist? I'm not sure what your answer was, but it wasn't specific. I think your website says artist athlete. And that was kind of one of those things, those questions is how do you define? And I have a couple questions like when you talk about, well, let me see if I can. Building your identity. You talked about building your identity through some of the hard things, the running and those kinds of things. And I wanted to talk to you about that a little bit. How you're building your identity. Do you feel like you have an identity yet? I mean, people, I think, spend their whole life creating one. But are you an artist? Are you an athlete? Are you a combination? How does that go through your mind? What's your mindset when you think about those 2 things? Can you do both and identify as both, I guess?
Yeah, I think you can. I tell this story, like this comes up a lot, but I had a mentor a couple of years ago that really encouraged me to bring the 2 worlds together. I was sort of unsure of the direction I was in. Like I said, I'd been metalworking. I'd been working exclusively with reclaimed materials and wanted to get back to making images. So I was like dabbling in printmaking a little bit, but felt this like loyalty to this identity I'd created as a person that works only in sustainable practices. Yeah. Anyway, it was way too in my head about that. But as you get, and this mentor was like, it was specifically in the context of Instagram accounts because I was trying to run one Instagram for my running and or running / personal, whatever, and then one for art, and it was difficult. And people do that. And he was like, you should tell these stories together. And so he not coming at it from like, he's a musician and an engineer. So different. Oh yeah. Way different. Yeah. Different than me, but the musician stuff, he has some overlap in understanding the way it works. Sure. And just like no understanding of ultra running besides what I've taught him, which is kind of cool. And that like from an Instagram perspective, sure, that's fine. But what that unlocked in the work that I was doing, because that was right before I started making these prints that are basically the gist of what I'm doing now. So that really unlocked it for me. And a lot of that is just like the way you choose to present yourself. Like our identities are, I think much more personal. Sure. I'm a wife, a sister, a daughter, etc. Those kinds of things. And so I don't know where I have no boundary between personal and work because of the type of work that I do. I don't have
Right.
hobbies. I turned my hobbies into my job.
Right.
But I think
Yeah.
that artist athlete identity was something that is constructed that then told me I was on the right path by opening up a lot of new ideas.
Yeah, that's interesting. You have any short-term, long-term goals as far as other things that's opening up for you that you see? I know one of my comments to you at the art show was I looked around and the person that I was wanting to interview was not in the booth. Like part of her was not in the booth, and that was the whole runner, the ultra trail runner. And I saw a little card with you're running on it. And I thought, man, I feel like this should be like one big booth with everything Abigail's in it. But do you feel like it's opening up any other paths for you? And whether it's art or running, will you have time for both down the road? I mean, you're making lots of strides in your running, it appears. What do those roads look like?
I think it works well together, and maybe part of that is the benefit of being fully self-employed and inventing, world building. Essentially, I enjoy that. I enjoy creating my own routine, trying to optimize, and all of that. That's fun for me. I don't know the solution to that problem that you're raising about the booth at the art festivals. There's that it's its own.
It's not a problem. I don't want to think it's a problem, but that was my impression. Is all.
No, I understand what you're saying, and I appreciate that feedback, and I recognize that, and it's something that I'm thinking about and haven't figured out. And it's like, as much as the business is like, I have these different buckets, but I try to bring it all together. The art festival business is its own whole thing that is quite difficult, honestly. It's a really,
I can imagine. I can't imagine. Yeah.
I mean, all of it's difficult, but that is, can be a rocky ship sometimes, but
well, it is interesting because I came to that. I've been to that art festival a few times. My wife lives there in Reston. I think I told you that, but my specific reason for being there was to meet Abigail, the trail runner. And, I like the picture in the background here that you did for the mountains. I don't know what not an event, but they gave money to
Arizona one or the Terra one?
No, the one that with Terra in it.
Okay,
yeah. I enjoyed seeing the mix of a trail runner, and that was obviously before I did her interview, but and your work. So I really liked the work, and it went for a good cause, and so. Anyway, I enjoy the mix from an art standpoint. I really think it's kind of cool, but I wanted to get
room to push that boundary for sure.
Yeah.
So it's and I get like lost in the sauce. I work by myself so much, so it can be helpful to get that feedback and
Yeah. Well, anyway, just my opinion, and I love it all. I love the combination of what you're doing as two things that I'm not accustomed to, and certainly don't have the ability to do. But I wanted to get into your running a little bit because that was the one thing that I obviously started. I started my research for Terra, and was diving into that world a little bit, and then I ran into you because you were a friend that did some support for her, and then I realized that, gosh, she's not only supporting, she's an absolute. She's an absolute demon out there. So I want to get into that. I think you have 4 fastest known times from what I read. You get Georgia Loop, SCAR, Duncan Ridge, and Coosa Backcountry. Is that right?
I don't hold SCAR anymore, but I did set the SCAR AT at one point. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So you had that at one point. And then you've got a string of over the last 3 or 4 years, you got a string of first places and a couple seconds and 8th. And so you're doing some amazing things as a runner out there. How did you how did you go from, was it growing up in the mountains, growing up on trails that got you into there? And how did you go from like, I'm going to walk on this trail to I'm going to see how fast I can run this trail? What was the turning point for you as a young person that got you interested in running those trails?
A little more circuitous way to trail running. So I was not an athletic kid at all, but I was very competitive.
Okay.
And I would run a little bit here and there with my mom because my mom has been a runner off and on throughout her life. But I was a very small kid, and going into ninth grade needed a PE credit. And
Okay.
they told me that if I joined the club rowing team, I could be the coxswain, which is the tiny person
Yeah.
that yells at people. And I said, that kind of sounds like a good job for me. And like 1 month in, we had our first race and we won, and I was sold on that.
You were hooked.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
And so I was a coxswain, but we would need to fill out lineups. So
Sure.
we'd have, you'd go to a race. It's like track and field, I guess. Like you have, you do a bunch of races, sometimes like 5 races in one weekend.
Gotcha.
And so I would get tossed into these lightweight lineups. So I don't know. I think and hope that lightweight rowing has changed a little bit for young people from how it was when I was in school, however long ago that was. But I would be put in like the back of a lightweight boat or something, and made the boats faster. So by the time I was a senior, I was mainly rowing. I still did a little bit of boxing, and I'm really grateful that I had to have that flexibility of like, I'm going to practice and I have no idea what I'm going to do today. And because I might be coxing at practice, I have to get to practice early so I can train for an extra hour beforehand, because I'm not sure what's going to happen when I get there. So went on to then actually win a national championship in rowing my senior year.
For you. I didn't know that. Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's cool.
Fun side story that not that many people know about. But we would run in rowing, and a lot of the rowers are not like biomechanically
conducive to running, right?
Unless you're small or smaller, not like super.
That is a nice way of calling me overweight, I think, probably. That's hilarious.
But it's just fun, like literally the running form. I'm speaking from a running form perspective.
Yeah,
it's like you just not. Some of the rowers would come in from soccer, and they were better runners. Anyway, so we would run some, and I had that in my back pocket. And so when I lived abroad, I started running a lot more, and then came to UGA, thought about different sports options. Actually at the end of my year in Germany, I did a running race. And I was like, I really missed this. This was like the missing piece of the puzzle for me was getting to race. And I just really like racing. And so did some club cross country, got injured a lot, have always been injury prone as a runner, even in high school when we would do like some running for cross training. And then did some road half marathons and stuff. And then it was around when I met my now husband that he introduced me to trail running.
Okay.
And it's kind of this thing, it depends where you live. And I think it's changing, hopefully. And I think as people like Tara, quite honestly, become, these stories go viral and people learn about them, it inspires more young people to realize that trail running is an option. But in a lot of places, you got to be introduced to it. So like, it wasn't something that I knew was a thing at all until some people took me on a trail run. Like I was like, I used to go hiking these places. I didn't know you could run here. And it's so hard going to the mountains, these really rugged trails and running them. But you're like, well, if they're doing it, I'm a competitive person. I can figure out how to do it too. And so that spawned. And then my first trail race was a trail half marathon. And it's this race that just has everything in it. It's got like steep uphills, steep technical downhills, some like gravel road sections. And I just have always loved having all those different challenges. And with trail running, you have to have a really diverse skill set.
For sure.
It's more like about the racing than I feel like road running.
So that was one of my questions for you, kind of related to that. My question was why compete versus run for your own satisfaction? I think you answered most of that because it's just kind of built in. Your DNA is built in to compete. But
and even if it's not for like competing for the win or podium or whatever, you're competing with yourself. Like everyone out there is competing. So everyone out there is trying to like improve on their time, or in these ultras, chase a cutoff, like finish the race. It's not like, it's one thing if you just go out there to attempt to do something without any support, like, or without a race structure. But if you're in a race and you're middle back of the pack, or even sometimes front of the pack, if you're having a bad day, you're, and I haven't had this experience, but that is like, you are racing those cutoffs. I've seen friends do it. So it is, I think, a universal thing that people can experience.
So you get into running. Your husband kind of introduced you to that part of the running. One of the things that I've noticed and kind of read about and kind of felt as I'm going through these interviews and talking to other people was that it's a pretty exclusive, I call it an exclusive tribe out there of individuals that kind of everybody knows everybody. A lot of people spend time running together at these races, and it seems, and yet it does seem ultra competitive. But talk to me about the group of people that you've become accustomed to being around, and why is that group of people maybe different from everyday friend groups? I mean, we all have a common goal, but tell me about the tribe mentality of the people that are out there running with you or supporting and all of those things.
I would say that as an adult, like by far the quickest and deepest friendships I've made have been through this sport. And
why do you think?
I think, I think it's a combination of, okay, so to back up a little bit, I used to kind of laugh because people will say like, oh, I do this sport for the people. And I'm like, that's a really silly,
what a weird thing to say, right?
Right. That's a really silly reason to go run all day in the woods. You can do a lot of things to be with other people.
That's true.
But I was thinking about this after Canyons 100K, which I ran in April, which was not a super pleasant experience for me, like emotionally. And like, I just had a really hard time. But then I just like reconnected with some people, but I made a ton of new friends. And, I'm not going to be as articulate right now as I was in some moment of clarity. I wrote all this down. I don't remember where I wrote it down now, but
that's right.
I think it's just, it's I mean, like, how do you explain it? It's easier to explain to someone who's in it, obviously, but it's like pure humanity and pure, like, we as humans, and you might not do it through running, but you could do it through something physical. It's like purely physical.
Right.
Or it's not purely physical, but it's like, it's so embodied and it's so beautiful and it's like raw and dirty. And when else as adults do we get to be so like broken down and raw on every level? And I think that's just a really beautiful thing. And then we all get to push ourselves together too. And I find it amazing how over and over again, you're out there with other racers, other women, and in my case, and being so competitive, and it's like super cutthroat. And then you finish the race and they're your new best friends. And I've seen that experience over and over again. And I hope that the culture never changes.
Yeah. I have to believe, though, I do have to believe that some of that is, I see that in a lot of females in a lot of sports. I grew up playing sports at high levels, and I watched a lot of women's sports. And you're right, women can get at each other's throats and compete right down to the millisecond. But as soon as it's over, they're congratulating each other. They seem to be genuinely happy for the other person. Men don't typically have that kind of reaction, but I kind of look
in ultra running though. I do see like men hugging at the finish line.
Not
always, and not all men, but I do see it, and I have friends that are like that.
That's cool. So, that's interesting. Well, I would look at that. Any sport that is grueling, like I would put that in the grueling category. I would see that as almost like men that go to war, or people that go to war and are in such danger and such physical, grueling situations that they become this melded unit that really watches out for each other. And I would imagine what you're talking about is similar to that. You're in this sport that requires so much emotionally, mentally, physically, that once you're spent, the only thing left is humanity to each other, I suppose. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm cautious to compare it to something like that involves risking your life.
Understood.
Your whole life. But I do yes, that's is fair. An interest, like a good way to think about it in terms of like the emotions of it. And then it is voluntary, and it is ultimately like for fun.
It's true. I spent a couple 100 miles on the Appalachian Trail with a buddy of mine. I did some work in a church youth group, and we did a pre-trip. We did 50 miles in 3 days. This was 25 years ago. And we were already buddies, but we went through this, and it killed me. And by day 3, I was laying in my, sack. But dead to the world. But I can tell you that there was a certain level of camaraderie there that you just don't get by going to work or going to a game or, going to play cards or whatever you do for, it was an interesting emotional point at the end of that trip. So I
and you're out in the woods, like you're out in nature, which
of course
even better. Like those experiences, even when they can be so great or so grueling, as you said, they're not always grueling though. Sometimes I've been thinking a lot lately about the feedback loops. Like you get caught in a positive feedback loop or a negative feedback loop where it's just like really great. And then you just feel great because you feel great, or it feels really bad and you feel bad because it feels bad. And like breaking out of that is something I'm still figuring out. But then you have these like vivid memories that you're going to keep with you forever, and shared experiences and people who just like, And then also in a time where people are so divided over so many things, like we can come together and like not talk about politics or whatever, and all do this thing together. And that's pretty cool too.
So a side note to that, on that specific thing, do you find yourself when you're out with, your partners running, or, your training partners or your girlfriends or whatever you're out there doing, do you find that at the highest points of physical exertion, you're just focused on your task, or do you have the ability to have a conversation? I know when I run and do some things at a certain level, I can't even talk. I just have to be. What's
What's nice about running is that most of it is meant to be pretty easy. So if it's hard all the time, then you need to slow down.
Okay.
So that means that like 80% of the time you should be at an aerobic level where you can carry on a conversation. Sometimes I don't want to talk for whatever reason.
Yeah, of course.
And then if I'm going that hard, it's either a race, in which case we're probably not going to chit chat too much. Yeah. Or I'm doing a workout or something, and then I'm probably like, not talking.
Yeah. And for those of you that don't know, I mean, Abigail is doing races that they're not just, 30-minute races. These are hours in multiple hours, 15 hours, 17 hours, full days of running. So it's quite the exertion. You should look into, if you've never looked into trail running, you should go look into what Abigail's doing. It's pretty amazing. But one of your posts that I read, you talked about romanticism of adventure. And you talked in those terms. And you just kind of mentioned being out in the woods is such an amazing thing. Is that one of the things that draws you back out there versus the running? I mean, or do you ever just go out to be in nature from a romantic standpoint, looking at nature as it is?
Yeah, I think my husband would like us to take more leisurely strolls in the woods. Yeah. I want to, so that's always a balance of push-pull, finding the right amount. Right. We're going up tomorrow to do a very slow like botany nature walk in the mountains, and then the following morning we're going birding. It's through an event that
cool.
friends of ours that run a nonprofit are doing. So
it's got to be an event for you, huh?
We're doing that. Well, no, it's a group of people, so we'll be learning. So it's folks like a botanist that can point stuff out.
Very cool, very nice.
So we are doing that because just a week and a half ago, right, he was following me around the woods, crewing me on this big FKT adventure. So I mean, my training is like pretty structured, but I definitely know other athletes that will go and just like repeat the same thing over and over again, and that's very beautiful in its own right. For me, I do want to go out and have an exploratory time. Like I'm more likely to carry more water with me, which is, unnecessary weight, so that I can go on a big loop or something like that, as opposed to just like doing the same little thing. So it is a factor. That said, I am also, training in a pretty structured way.
Yeah. So your crossover between running and art, I did read something where you said that I've always got my pocket camera, or your phone, I guess you said, your pocket camera in your pocket. Is that something that, because I'm the same way. I don't do what you do, but I love taking pictures. I love getting moments that are, you can't replace them or you can't duplicate them. I love doing that. I've always been a photographer at heart. How often does that crossover happen for you? Is that something like, hey, I'm going to run, I'm going to train, but I got my art in my pocket just in case? Is that something you do all the time, or is that a something that you have to plan for?
I'm kind of always looking
Yeah.
for things that are exciting. I find if I'm currently working on a project, like really in the studio, I'm more likely to see things that are exciting to me. That's one thing
Yeah.
I've noticed.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's interesting. Let me see here. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about Tara, not in her own right, but how it relates to you. I know you guys are friendly, and you've done some support work with her. Any goals to achieve that level? I mean, I hate to even parse. I don't know the levels, but I can tell you it seems like you're at those levels already. But is there any goals from your standpoint to move in that direction as far as being sponsored, or what do you have any long-term goals for your running, or is this just a very personal thing that you endeavor?
Well, yeah, in terms of Tara, I love I say for my friends that do things like run the Appalachian Trail, which is the far end of the extreme, but there's also now a lot of growing popularity of 200-mile races.
Yeah.
And I haven't even finished a 100-mile race, and I'm not sure. I would like to at some point. I'm just not sure when that is. But I like to just say, like, good for them. Like, I like watching people do the things that they're really excited about, and that's true across the board. Like that's not a running only thing, but I love watching, like I love following friends doing these like really long things. It's fascinating to me and it's exciting, and I'm happy to support it when I can. But I certainly have no desire to do anything like that.
I didn't know.
Nice. Yeah, no, but that's nice. Like, it's nice having a friend like Tara who is, doing a lot of the things she's doing are just so like, I don't catch myself comparing myself to her, which is really nice. This is something I've been talking to a couple of other female runner friends lately about, like, sometimes you do end up getting caught up in comparing yourself to your friends that are achieving really great stuff. And that's just like, that's a human psychology thing that you have to work through. I don't have that with her.
Yeah, that's why I asked. I didn't know. I
would love to have I have some like sponsors that are primarily product based with a little bit of other support. I would love to level that up for sure. I think that if I were to like have a salary, like a small salary from a brand, I wouldn't want to run full time. I mean, I'm not at that level, but even if I were, that's not interesting to me. I love what I do. And if a brand were to start paying me a salary of some kind, if it was, whatever, small, whatever, it wouldn't really change anything that I'm doing. I'm already doing it, and it's this weird gray area. Like in some sports you have to, get a pro card or whatever to become pro, and trail running, it's a participation event. Everybody
produce the time, right? Yeah.
Well, and everybody starts together. So like the back of the Packers are on the same starting line as the elites, and it's sometimes there's a separate division, like a separate start time, but it's basically all the same start time. It's not like, at least in ultra running, there's some shorter distance trail running stuff where they do have separate races for the elites. But so it's a spectrum.
Your husband, I don't know, does he go by Mike or Michael? Michael. Your husband Michael is a marathoner as well, trail runner. Does he compete in these types of races as well, or is he recreational runner? I mean, anybody that runs a marathon is, I don't know if it's recreational, but
I don't know what it is. It's a lifestyle thing. He goes in weight. He's on that recreational level or whatever. He gets really excited about competing in the local scene and that kind of thing.
Gotcha.
He's also a lot older than I am. And so that age, he pretends like no one would guess his age ever. Everyone, if you have them guess, minimum 10 years younger. He is super fit and young soul.
That's good.
So he goes in waves where he gets really motivated and excited, and then goes in waves where he's like, running is dumb.
Well, I tell you, sometimes if your body won't let you do things when you get to certain ages. So I get I get some of that for sure. So do you have any mentors that you go to on a regular basis? Do you have a support system that produces a mentor that you say, like, this is my person for my running, this is my person for my soul? Who do you go to for advice?
That's a good question. It depends, and I think it changes a lot over time. Like I was talking about the mentor that had helped me a lot with some of those business decisions earlier, and I haven't talked to him in a little while, but I can just like open up his calendar and schedule a meeting with him and show up in his office, which is kind of cool. We do that every now and then, and he's like, "I love it when you come to my office because I have no idea what you're going to bring to me, and it always is completely surprising." Like I think I was talking about the Terra project with him, the print.
Yeah.
And he was just like, "How do you know this person?"
That's hilarious.
Right now, I guess just everybody. I mean, Michael and I do have a super, like, we talk through a lot. We do have a lot of overlap because we are both athletes. And even when he's not, like, he hasn't ever run on the level that I'm running, but he understands racing and competing and the desire to get better and to be devoted to training. And so he can understand that. And then he has worked as an artist for a lot longer than I have. So he also has a lot of insight.
You guys have the perfect crossover, that's for sure. You both do the same things. That's great.
And then otherwise, just like everybody, right? I listen to a lot of podcasts, a lot of business podcasts, and get to work. I find lately it's often through projects, trying to take on these projects that are a little bit bigger and then a little bit bigger, and just seeing what comes of it. And then the people you surround yourself with, right? I mean, my word of the year, I like to pick a word of the year, and this year it's collaboration.
That's great. I do the same thing for my business. I have a word of the year. Yeah.
And it's a personal and business. So trying to touch back on that. And the reason I picked that as a word this year is I was like, if I'm going to keep leveling up, it's going to be through
others,
the people I work with or am around. And we are influenced by those people. And Tara is one of those people for sure, even if it's not like, I mean, Tara's not giving me business advice, but she has this effect, I think, in the people that she surrounds herself with. And my best friend, who's a photographer and videographer, we joke about the Tara effect, that we're just like
sucked you in
working with Tara, and then all these other opportunities come of it. And she's super generous with that kind of thing. She'll always be like, "Oh yeah, we can collaborate on an Instagram post or whatever."
That's great. So. Yeah, I did. I saw a video when I was preparing for her interview of her getting prepared for a race. I think it may have been Black Canyon. I think it was, but she had everybody in the room, and they were talking about food and how they were going to do on the breaks when she braked, and what they were going to give her, and what they were going to, and she was writing everything down and directing, and everybody seemed to be really like in tune with it. Certainly takes a team to do that kind of thing.
And when we talked about the relationships you build through ultra running, we didn't even talk about that part of it. The crewing and pacing side of it is pretty awesome. I just did this FKT that, because it was a supported FKT, I really leaned into that supported part and into my crew and pacers. And because it's a different format than a race, you can have people carry stuff for you.
Sure.
So, which is, what Tara did on the whole AT. Or most of it. So that's a really cool side of it too, is just like planning the stuff and asking. You're basically like, I'm only going to run and you guys are going to handle everything else. And you're just giving over yourself to the people for that period of time. Yeah. And that's a really beautiful thing too.
Yeah, that is a beautiful thing. It makes me wonder, again, I don't have any perspective because I'm not there doing that, but those support people, are they all typically runners as well? Or do you have people that say, look, I like being around this type of person, this outdoorsy, activity dwelling person. I just want to support that because that's what I can do. Or do you find that most of the support teams are actual runners in their own right?
Probably it's more common for them to be runners, but you definitely see folks that say they're elite in the elite category, and they find their people that crew them and it works. And maybe it's their dad, and he's just really good at it, and he's not a runner, but he figures out like what needs to be done. So you definitely, like, you don't have to be a runner. And that's a cool thing that you see at some of these races, people who like obviously aren't runners, but they know everything there is to know about it and how to support, and that's really cool too.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
And it's not like any runner. I'm not going to ask any runner to come crew me either, because
that's true.
I'm picking people carefully that I think are going to be super competent and be able to execute on the jobs that need to
competent and willing, I guess, too. I mean, I don't know how that all works, but it seems like if you're putting your quote unquote life in somebody else's hands, you want somebody to be committed to that job for as long as that you're doing it. So
and crewing is really stressful sometimes.
I bet
people joke that it's harder. It's more stressful than racing. I'm not going to say that it's harder to crew than it is to run 100K or 100 miles, but it is more stressful sometimes for sure.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about that, because I would think that would be very difficult. You'd have to have people that know you intimately and what you react and how you act when you're at like full on stress level, people that can push you that extra, half a foot, or know when you need to be pulled back, or what. Is that something that seems like that's a real thing out there? Is, how much can you be pushed by whom?
I think some of that is, and that's in choosing who you have. Say if you're talking like a pacer in that case,
or
choosing carefully who paces you and on which section you put them, that kind of thing. I've learned with Michael, he's not the best pacer for me. I can put him at the end, like he can bring me in and finish, but if I put him in a place where I know that like 50% to 80%, 90% section, where I'm most likely going to be the most vulnerable. Like he is my softer side, and that's not what I need. Then you
need somebody to give that little extra,
or just like a neutral party that's like a friend who I don't know that well, or maybe I know them well, but it's not like my best friend even, or sibling, that kind of relationship. Some people love it. Like some people will have their spouse pace them for as long as they can go, and that's great for them. But for me personally, I need somebody I'm less likely to break down in front of.
Yeah. Well, I could see that. I mean, you want that emotional support for sure. Yeah. All right. Let me see if there's anything else. This has been amazing conversation. Do you read, or do you said you listen to some podcasts? Which podcasts do you listen to? What's your favorite app? And have you opened a book lately?
Yeah, so podcasts, I listen to a ton of podcasts. I work by myself, and a lot of my work is...
Oh, yeah, there you go.
A lot of my work is not like, not admin tasks. I'm doing admin tasks and stuff I can't, but when I'm doing printmaking stuff, I can listen to people talking. So I do listen to a lot of running podcasts. I'm like a big fan of ultra running as a sport, in addition to being a participant. Sometimes a little too much, and I have to like get away from it. Sure. But and so there's a bunch of those. And then in terms of business podcasts, I'm such a sucker for How I Built This. Aren't we all?
Yeah, I love that. Podcast. Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
That kind of thing, that combining of the stories and the business. There's a great podcast called Second Nature that started a year ago, and it's business and outdoor.
Okay.
And, I've actually been working with them on a project a little bit, or I did work for them for a project. So that was cool. And they have a really cool Slack channel too. So it's like the who's who of the outdoor industry are in this Slack channel. Everybody's in there, and that's really neat.
That's neat to watch.
And athletes and stuff like that. There's the athletes that like the business side of it, which is not everybody, but some of us. Yeah. So love that one. Yeah. Favorite app on my phone. I've been really like, this fits with my nature walk tomorrow. I love the Seek app.
Oh, Seek app. I think I've heard of that. Yeah.
And I don't have, and the other one I don't have on my phone, but Michael has on his, and I need to put on mine, is Merlin.
Don't have that one.
That one, it's remarkable at how it can detect bird song and tell you what bird it is. And it'll like highlight the one that you're hearing right now.
Oh, there you go. Wow.
And I'm not a birder, but like, it's cool.
That might make you a birder, right? My dad's a birder.
They're a whole other... Birders are another thing.
Takes too much patience for me. I couldn't do that.
Michael likes that kind of thing too. And I'm kind of with you. I'm like, okay, we'll go on one birding excursion and then we'll do another one at some point. But I'm happy to, like yesterday morning, I noticed there was a mockingbird on our power line right in our front yard.
Yeah.
And I was like, this mockingbird is just sitting there going through every single sound that it knows how to make.
Yeah.
And it's just hilarious. I get a kick out of that kind of thing when they're silly.
Yeah. That's cool.
And then reading, I go in waves for sure. I have a practice theory. If you come across something like a little free library,
Yeah.
I mean, you're judging a book by its cover, but basically just like if a book draws you, if you're just like, it looks interesting.
Okay.
Pick it up and read it.
Yeah.
The book I read, it'll take me forever to read a book sometimes because I'll just read before bed, and I have insomnia. So sometimes if I'm having bad insomnia, I read a lot.
Oh, jeez.
But if I don't, like right now, and I fall asleep easily, then I don't read that much. But
that's a
right
tough one.
It's a book that was a pick from a thrift store from, I forget if it was Michael or his brother or his mom, as a gift to me. And it's about it's a novel, but set in Rwanda, like leading up to the genocide. But it's about a runner is the track star.
Do you know what it's called? Do you remember what it's called? I think I've actually seen that book.
I think it won some awards.
Yeah, that's the one then. I don't remember the name of it though, but
I'm trying to see if I can find it really quickly. Running the Rift.
Running the Rift. I've seen that book before. Yeah.
It's good.
So
I love that kind of way of getting eyes into a different time period of culture or something like that.
Yeah. This has been, my podcast has put me in that kind of that mindset, I guess, to learn about different cultures, different things going around the world, those kinds of things. I've had some really interesting guests that have shared a lot of different things from a cultural standpoint. So that's been fun. It's kind of been mind opening for an old guy. But yeah, that's been a good time. So I want to give you as much time as you want, but I'd love for you to talk to the young women out there. And I have a few. I have a client of mine that does the nonprofit for running for girls. It's called Girls on the Run. She does that. She was so excited to hear about Tara. I told her you were coming on. She goes, I haven't heard of her. I said, well, she's another, she's another winner. So she's excited to listen to this podcast. And she shows these podcasts to her girls. So her runners, her girls that go and be part of her or a part of her organization. So if you were to give some advice to the young people out there, especially women, just about growing up, being confident in what you do and taking a right versus a left or whatever, what advice would you give to young women that are growing up looking to be an Abigail West or an artist like Michael? What kind of advice would you give them?
Pressure's on.
Yeah. Maybe that's advice you've gotten from somebody else.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
I mean, the way that I just approach things in general is to just keep trying things, just keep doing things. And I joked that I've made my hobbies my job, but they were the things I've been most excited about. And as much as one can feel like one has arrived, I know now, I mean, I'm only 29, but I have had essentially 2 careers because I was working in a different art form before that was a totally different clientele and different. It was more, I actually worked in solid waste for 3.5 years. I thought I was going down the path towards like nonprofit or government career. But if you just keep following what's interesting to you and trying to get experiences in whatever that is. So whether that be through a mentor or maybe there's a class you can take, or maybe it is a job and you try it out, or if an internship or something like that, you only learn through trying these things out. So the more different things you can just keep doing, like keep busy. I mean, obviously don't overwork yourself. That's really important too. But, and I've had a lot of, like, I've been smacked in the face with that many times throughout my life.
Yeah.
Trying to do too much and having to rein it in.
Yeah. But
still coming back to that, like, keep trying new things, and then the momentum will build on itself. Yeah. And then again, like I was saying, I've not necessarily arrived anywhere. I don't know what the future will hold. I think that, like, I've been doing running for a while. I think that I'm going to keep being a runner. That's for someone like I like doing so many different things, and I'm constantly pivoting and trying new stuff and traveling and all of that. But I joke like the two things that stay constant are I want to run or bike, exercise in some form, as much as possible outside, adventuring. And then also I eat the same thing for breakfast every day.
Oh yeah, tell us what that is.
Just oatmeal, but like a specific combination of things in my oatmeal.
Okay,
I don't get tired of it, and I don't feel that good if I eat something else for breakfast. So
that's funny.
Always come back to the oatmeal.
Little superstitious there. I had oatmeal this morning, to be honest with you.
It's not even superstitious. It's just that like we went out to breakfast last week.
Yeah.
With a friend who was in town.
Yeah.
And I was tired afterwards because I had pancakes with my breakfast, and it was delicious, but I was tired.
Well, one of my guests is a doctor that talks. I haven't been able to have her on, but she talks about mitochondria and healthy cells and healthy things, and I'm convinced that our food is not good for us for the most part, and so that's a whole path. That's a whole nother conversation, but it makes sense when you eat pancakes. You're not going to feel very well, though.
Right. So, you should still eat pancakes sometimes, but I want to feel like energized. And for whatever reason, oatmeal does it for me. I don't have oatmeal before I run. I don't feel good then, but after, when I come back. So I have like my first mini breakfast. Yeah. And then I come back and have the bigger breakfast after I'm done.
I love it.
But other than that, and then obviously, well, I guess the third thing would just be my relationship with Michael. Yeah. But other than those things, there's a ton of variety. And I think that leads to a lot of the other stuff.
Yeah. It opens up doors here and there if you're trying lots of things.
Yeah. And the willingness to pivot too. Like just because you started down one path doesn't mean you just stay on it. It's really important to learn what you don't like and don't want to do.
Yeah, that's good. I was in a business I didn't want to be in for 15 years until I woke up one day and said, what in the world am I doing? And, 15 years had gone by. So I think that's good advice. Be willing to pivot when things don't go well. Stay in there, work hard at it, but be willing to pivot if it's not something that you see a future in. So I think that's good advice for not only young women.
It is hard to know, like, when do you quit? I mean, but
sure.
I think it's like a muscle you can flex, and you can learn what it feels like to be at that point of, do I need to push through, or is it time to quit? Because I can think back to, like, I played violin when I was really little. That was really when I was really little. But then I played guitar, and I had gotten to like a pretty high level taking it in school, classical guitar. And I was also doing art and rowing in school, all the things. Right. And I knew this is the thing I'm not actually that passionate about it. Like, it was fun to get good at it. Yeah. I liked the people I hung out with, but it's not it. And then the feeling that you get when you quit something, when it's time to quit, that just like relief. Yeah. Yeah. That, you're making the right decision.
For sure. I had that same situation. I owned a bunch of restaurants for 15 years. And the day I woke up and said they're for sale, it was just a gigantic weight went off I worked so hard for so many years and I just couldn't stand it. But nevertheless, anyway, Abigail, I want to thank you for coming on. I know that this was kind of out of the blue for you. I kind of ran you down at the Art Fest and asked you in person. I was hoping you'd say yes. So thank you for saying yes. It's been a delight. And I can't wait to see what the future holds for you. The nice part about doing this, I get to watch all my guests progress and do their thing. And I think it's a lot of fun. So thanks for being on. I appreciate it. And we'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely. Thanks so much. It's been a great conversation.
Super. Oh, how'd your sweatshirt fit? Did you try it on?
Yeah. And I actually wore it for the first time. No, but I was doing heat training. Yeah. And I needed a hoodie to wear on my bike upstairs.
That's perfect.
But I was just like in my sports bra underneath. And so then I took it off and I hadn't washed it yet. And so it had like black stuff all over
black fuzzies.
Yeah, so now it needs to be washed.
I tell you what, I look for a long time before I was in New York City when I was at an art show. I ran across the guy selling T-shirts with cameras on them. And they were these old cameras and it was a screen print. And I love cameras. I love this t-shirt. And I picked it up and I said, man, these are so soft. Where'd you get these? Like, I ordered these out of California. It's the best ever. They got great hoodies. So I wrote that down, and that's the one I went with. So they're super soft and super comfortable. And so I thought it was a great thing. But anyway, so I need a couple things from you at some point. I need some pictures you don't mind sharing. Half a dozen, whatever, pictures. If you've got a few videos, they don't have to be long, but just videos that you can shoot my way. I like to plug those into the podcast so people can, have some music behind and kind of, they can tell the story. So when you get a chance, if you go ahead and pick out, a dozen or half a dozen pictures, whatever you want, whatever you're proud to put out there, and some videos, that would help me produce the podcast. That's all right.
Sounds good.
You can pop those in an email. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Say hi to your husband. Thanks for coming on, and we'll talk to you soon.
My dog has been the third party in the room the whole time.
What's your dog's name? I couldn't find his name.
Dog. Her name is Cider.
I couldn't find her name because I was going to mention her, but I couldn't find her name.
Hey, she's so happy that I'm back in my studio. She's like,
yeah,
you're just a little studio dog at heart. A little trail dog and studio dog.
How's your studio coming? You guys got it? You got it getting it squared away? I know you guys were working on
I'm back in here. It's a little chaotic because I haven't sorted out everything, but there's like nothing on the walls. But also, like, we spent so much time painting the walls. I'm like, I don't want to hang anything, but they just like tape things up. But no, it's great. It's great.
Yeah, good. I see you got a Hyperlight. I just bought a Hyperlight backpack. I'm going to try to do the Appalachian Trail next year.
Different Hyperlight.
Is it?
Oh, they're I guess different enough with the copyrights. So I think the Hyperlight that makes gear is with an I.
I think you're right. Yeah.
So Hyperlight is actually my nutrition sponsor.
Oh, okay, cool. Nice.
They're a super cool little startup. Those guys are amazing. They're based in Texas.
What are they doing for you?
They make, right now there's just one product on the market, a couple of new ones coming out soon. We've been doing R&D on. It's for ultra runners specifically, and it's an all-in-one hydration.
Oh, hydration stuff.
So it's carbs and sodium in drink mix together.
Yeah.
So in theory, you can just use that product. I supplement with gels because I need a little more carb. Like the ratio is not 100% right for me. Some people can just use that.
How's your stomach handle those gels?
It's a real trial and error. And for me, I've learned that a lot of it has to do with like being really well hydrated, and that a lot of my stomach issues came from getting dehydrated, and then I wouldn't be able to eat. And now I've learned that if I'm well hydrated, that a lot of those issues go away so far.
Yeah, I did. That was one of those questions I had for you as far as the scientific, when does I don't know what it was. When does the romantic view of adventure diminish with a more scientific approach to long distance? Like when I don't need, we don't need to get into it, but anyway, I was just wondering how the scientific part of that, it does the scientific part of what you need to do what you do diminish being out there ever? I mean, does it catch up with you, or if you don't get the mixtures right, does it?
I don't think so. I mean, if you don't get it right, then you're puking on the side of the trail, and that's part of the experience. So it was very frustrating to go through a bunch of trial and error and like think you have it figured out, and then
you did
on you. And then that's just the way ultra running is, though. Like that's literally part of the sport is problem solving. Like a huge part of it is problem solving.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Part of what made, Tara is a once in a generation athlete. There's something about her, both physiology and psychology, that I've never really seen in that combination in another ultra runner. But
it's crazy.
Part of her success was her crew and their ability to problem solve, and specifically Rascal's ability to stay calm, cool, and collected and not tell Tara and keep it all from Tara.
That's interesting. Yeah, she's something for sure. But you're quite the athlete yourself, and I'm so impressed. And thanks for doing this anyway.
Yeah, and, thank you.
Have a great day.
You've been listening to the Grind to Growth to Greatness podcast. Our passion is to talk to the brightest entrepreneurs, CEOs, creators, athletes, anyone who's made it, and dive into their struggles, their successes, and their secrets. We hope you've enjoyed the show. If you did, make sure to like, rate, and review. We'll be back soon, but in the meantime, you can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Grind2Growth2Greatness. See you next time.